You're listening to the 40 Thrive podcast, the show created for women 40 and beyond, ready to shake things up. And now, your host, Jackie McDougall.
Welcome to another episode of 40 Thrive. So, to wrap up the month of April, I have two incredible doctors coming on the podcast. One to discuss menopause and all things menopause, perimenopause, and how we can handle and deal with it. And another who's going to help us through all of this chaos with emotional flexibility. And so these are two really key shows that I cannot wait to get out for you. But first, I wanted to create this podcast episode because I cannot say enough about the Confident Woman Rising Summit coming up in just a few days. Courtney Townley has been on the podcast multiple times before. She is doing some really great things over there at Grace and Grit podcast, as well as with her membership site and with her clients. And she has pulled together 16 experts who know their stuff when it comes to elevating your life over 40. I'm talking about women who are skilled in nutrition and wellness and meditation, money. I mean, we're talking about wellness in all areas of your life. Courtney is pulling them all together and presenting them to you for free next week through her Confident Woman Rising Summit. Now, you can register for the summit using the link in the show notes here, and you have an opportunity to get the Backstage pass that gives you even more access to some of these incredible experts. Now, I don't know why, but she has included me in this fantastic summit, and I cannot say enough about my experience and how excited I am to bring it to you. So check out the show notes, 40thrive.com/episode 66, and you can go and register for the Confident Woman Rising Summit. So I wasn't intending for this Facebook Live I did with Courtney to become a podcast episode, but I thought it was really important to share all the work that she's doing for the summit and also talking about confidence in general and why some women have so much of it and are kicking ass with it and why some of us struggle. So I've decided to include that Facebook Live as a podcast episode because I think it really can help a lot of people. So just be kind and understand it's not up to par when it comes to technology and the way I like my show to sound. Okay, so let's listen in to the Facebook Live I did with Courtney, and do not forget to head on over and register for the summit today. It's next week. Most of us are at home right now. It's free. There's really no reason not to do it, and every reason to elevate your life. All right, we're live. Courtney Townley. I swear it's like the Courtney and Jackie show on a regular basis now.
I know. I think it should be.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm always so honored when you have me.
Oh, well, likewise. So I do want to talk about your event coming up a week from today that is free and online. So everyone wants to sign up for the Confident Women Rising Summit. But can we go back a little bit for just a few minutes? So we called this How to Ignite Self-Confidence based on all of the work that you are doing. Mm-hmm. What is self-confidence to you?
Self-confidence to me is self-trust, like at the most foundational level. It's your ability to trust yourself to show up and do the things that you want to do for yourself. It's the trust to do things that you've always wanted to step into for your life, but maybe, again, lack of confidence kind of prevents you from doing it.
Right.
It's self-trust that you're not going to be a jerk to yourself when you make some mistakes. Because let's face it, if you're doing anything bold in your life or new, you're going to make mistakes. So it's trusting yourself that you're going to have your own back, trusting yourself that you're going to get up again and try again when you trip up, because you will. Trusting yourself that, your opinion of yourself is really the most important thing.
So I find with women over 40, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, that we kind of go back and forth, constantly jumping back and forth between more confidence than ever because we've been through some stuff and we've survived it, and we know that we can basically take on a lot of crap. But at the same time, sometimes we feel invisible, or sometimes we feel, we look back at old pictures like, damn you, Facebook, and you're like 10 years ago today, and you're like, oh, how come I don't look like that anymore? Like, so we go back and forth between having more confidence and less confidence. So how do you kind of justify or somehow get in the middle there?
Well, I think it's such an interesting time, right? Like over the age of 40, I feel like it's really an invitation to look around at your life. And I always call it the renovation years. Like look at the parts of the house that you definitely want to maintain. And then parts of your house that, this doesn't really work for me anymore. And that suited me at one time, but now I need to do some work on that.
Yeah. And
so I do really see it as an invitation. I also think there's some really unique challenges that show up as we get into the 40s and 50s and beyond, partly because we have so much responsibility on our plate that we didn't necessarily have in our 20s and 30s.
Right.
So we're in the throes of our career. We're getting kids off to college. We're often taking care of aging parents, considering career changes. There's so many things that are shifting. So there's a lot of stress that we could take on at this age and stage of life. And then on top of it, we're living at a time where hormones, especially the hormones that help us to manage stress, are not so much on our side, right? The estrogen and progesterone is starting to leave the party, as I always say. And that can pose some unique challenges in a woman's confidence because chemically she's disrupted. And that can really play games on our head and our psyche and what we think is possible for our life. How could your life benefit moving forward with more confidence? And what would that require of you? What do you need to maybe put some more time and education or attention on in order to bolster your confidence in the areas where you don't feel so confident? Because you're right. We have confidence in certain areas. And then we really lack confidence in other areas. It's not like you have self-confidence and it crosses all arenas of your life. I wish that was true.
So you've noticed, huh? So, I mean, confidence has always been sort of a thread in all of the work that you do, the incredible work that you do on the Grace and Grit podcast and through your clients and your membership site and all of those things. You could very well just talk about this yourself and be an expert in it because you're very, very educated and informed, and I would listen to you all day. But instead of that, you sort of up the ante and you invited 16 of your closest friends / experts to join you for the Confident Woman Rising Summit. Why did you decide to put this together?
I decided to put it together because I think that as much as I know enough about all the topics that are being discussed to ask maybe good questions, they're not necessarily my areas of genius, right? And so I really wanted to go to women who have made it their life's work to speak into certain topics. And so I've invited women who are, definitely have a specialty in terms of how they help women to be more confident in the world. And I just felt like if I was really being true to the confidence conversation, we also get confidence with our support network. And this is my community of professionals, of people who I look to for the information that will help me live my life at a higher elevation and help my clients do the same.
Right. Isn't it amazing to live in a time and do the work where you can actually just pull in people who not only improve all of your listeners and followers' lives, but your own as well? It's a little selfish for us in what we do because I'm like, what am I struggling with? Oh, I'm going to have that expert on my podcast.
100%. And I feel like it's the impetus for all of my work is my own self-discovery. And as I get to know myself better, it's like, how can I not share that with people? Right? How can I not help another woman to understand this same concept because maybe it'll help her? So I feel like my entire career has been driven by my own pursuit of self-improvement.
Yeah, I love that because here's the other thing too, is you have access to these incredible people, these women. And so how could you not share that access with thousands of women who are going to be registering for this summit?
And what's so cool about the summit is these women are, again, they're so genius. All of these women are from the space of women's wellness. So they speak to mental health, physical health, even financial health. And they're so unique in what they do. And at the same time, there's such a common thread in all the conversations around what confidence is and how a woman can move into more confidence. Like there's definitely this undertone that is very similar in all the conversations. And yet the conversations are so radically different.
Right. That's what's so fascinating. So, some of my favorite women are going to be involved. Katie Kremitzos is involved, Dr. Sarah Sarkis. Now, tell us about some of them involved that maybe we don't know, or at least I'm not familiar with quite yet.
Yeah. So let's see. So Kim Vopni, I'm really excited about. I've not had her on the podcast. Many of the people presenting in this event, I've had on the podcast before. Okay. But Kim Vopni, I followed for years. She's a pelvic health specialist. She calls herself the vagina coach. She's very funny about the way she delivers.
I didn't know we needed one, but it makes perfect sense.
And a lot of women don't know that they need one. And this is the whole point of having her a part of this event, is because there are a lot of pelvic health challenges that women face in the 40 plus population. Yeah. And she does an incredible job at helping people to understand the physiology of the pelvis, and what we can be doing at home to make sure that we're basically keeping everything toned and healthy, so we don't end up having to have major surgeries down the pipeline.
I hadn't even thought about that. I mean, that's what we're doing for the rest of our bodies, right? We're working out, or we're eating in certain ways, or whatever it is, that we don't think that we need to do that for the long-term health in all areas.
I've worked with countless women over the years who can't do certain movements because they're leaking, because they don't trust that their pelvic floor is going to be able to hold everything up. And these are very real challenges when it comes to living our life confidently.
Right.
And so this is kind of normalizing that conversation. Another guest we have is Krista Scott-Dixon, which I'm just like, I swear I'm like a fangirl of hers. And she knows it. She is the head of curriculum at Precision Nutrition, which is really, in my opinion, like the world-class educator on nutrition coaching. And she just talks a lot about behavioral psychology and how we need to kind of compassion our way into confidence. We can't beat ourselves there, right? We can't judge ourselves there. We have to be so kind in the process. So we talk a lot about that and how change actually works. I have several hormonal experts coming on the show who really, their zone of genius is helping women to better understand the role that hormones play, how hormones shift at this age and stage of life, and what we can do to kind of soften the blow. Because hormones are going to shift. You have no control over that. But we do have some control over how radically they shift and how much it affects us. And so we have several conversations around that. Hillary Hendershot coming in to talk about learning how to be kind of responsible and moving forward with money at any age and stage of life. Because I think there's a lot of shame around money management for a lot of women.
Yes.
That's
actually one of the biggest, I will say, like wellness and money, wealth, all of that are like two huge areas in which the women in the 40 Thrive community struggle. And so it's so difficult to talk about when you are struggling financially, because you think you're the only one. But I do, me, I love to do my polls and my surveys and anonymously, and many, many, many women over 40 are struggling. And so it's amazing. Your whole event is for women over 40.
Yes.
So the advice that they will get in these areas are specifically for them. Yes. I mean, I'm pushing 50, like I'm already under 49, like we're 50 thriving soon. So, I love that I can come on and listen to all these experts in different areas, and that they have sort of me in mind. So you and I live in this whole online world, right? So we're like summits and this and that. But the average person who works a day job or who doesn't work online is like, what the hell's a summit? What does it even mean? So can you explain? Because I think that this is really necessary. Like, what does a summit look like? If I go and I just included the registration link, my personal registration link, so they came from me. I put that in the comments, but what does it look like when they register? What happens?
Great question. So what happens when you register is you'll immediately get an email saying you're in, you're good to go. Woo-hoo. But I also want people to understand that the free aspect of this event, because you can participate in the entire event for free. It's 5 days long. Yeah. 5 days long. Yeah. The 20th through the 24th.
Okay.
And there's 4 speakers roughly every single day. Mm-hmm. And you have to join the pop-up group, the Facebook group, because my team and I just decided that was really the best way to run this event, because it allows people to talk about the topics and kind of interact with the speakers if they want to. Mm-hmm. So you have to join the Facebook group. If you're not a Facebook person, which you're probably not watching this video if you're not, Right.
Probably not. Yeah.
If you're not a Facebook person, or your life is just so chaotic and sort of time limited that you want to have access to all of the resources without actually having to watch the videos when they drop, we do have an option for a Backstage pass, which is, I think, very reasonably priced. It's only $34. And that gives you access to a vault that you'll have access to forevermore, that has all of the interviews and all of the free gifts and all of the good stuff for the event. So from April 20th to April 24th, which are the dates of the event, each day, like I said, there'll be about 4 interviews that post in this Facebook group, and they're spaced out, a few hours apart. And you'll be able to watch those videos for any time in the next 24 hours. So you don't have to watch them as they drop. You can watch them over the course of the next 24 hours. Okay. And then before the next round posts, we take those down and we post the next round of speakers.
I see.
So every day it's a new group of speakers, new conversations. And really the purpose of a summit is to sort of concentrate, right? Sort of concentrate on a topic, which of course ours is confidence.
Yep.
And really bring together these incredible women who have made it their life's work to help women elevate confidence in a ton of different areas.
Right.
So I feel like it's an incubator for confidence, this summit specifically.
Yeah. And I think it's great. And so when one signs up for the Backstage pass, not only do they have access to all of these videos that we're playing in this Facebook group, but also free gifts. Do people have access to the free gifts if they're in the Facebook group?
Yes.
Like if they're live, or do they have?
Yeah. And there's actually additional gifts for people who buy the Backstage pass. So all of the speakers provided some type of offer that's free of charge that just helps to support what they're talking about.
Right.
And then many of them submitted a second gift for those who register for the Backstage pass. The other thing that the Backstage pass affords people is an audio file, right? Because not everybody wants to watch a video. They just want to listen to it as they're going for a walk or while they're cooking dinner. So we are including the audio file in the Backstage pass as well.
Oh, awesome. I know for me, I'm on the last day. I think I'm the last speaker. Am I the last?
You are. You're the last speaker.
So you gotta stay for the whole thing.
Which I love. And I put that exactly in the right place, because you and I are talking all about finding your voice, which I think is such a powerful conversation, especially at this age and time in life. Yeah. So I just thought it was a great note to end the summit on.
Awesome. No, and I'm thrilled to be involved with it. And I mean, you and I talk about finding your voice, and that it doesn't necessarily mean, listen, if you want to start a podcast and you want to hire me to do that, great. But finding your voice has nothing to do with podcasting or video or anything else. It's finding your voice in your own life. And I see women every day over 40, over 50, who are finding a voice that they didn't necessarily have when they were younger. And it's intoxicating for me to watch a woman like step into her own power and be like, no, I think what I have to say is valid, and I'm going to create boundaries, and I'm going to live in a way that feels authentic to myself and aligned with myself. I'm like, yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for.
Well, to me, that's what 40 Thrive is. It's like your whole, 40 Thrive to me is you have created this space for women to step into that second half of life powerfully and fully and authentically. So I see you providing a ton of resources, and every day you're committed to helping women find their voice. Yes, as a podcasting teacher and facilitator, but also just as a woman who is passionate about helping other women to rise.
Yeah. I mean, just women over 40, just look at politics right now. And not that we're getting into politics. Don't worry, people, don't but I'm talking specifically women in politics. How many more women are showing up and in their communities, small, the community elections versus like the states. And anyway, it's just awesome. I think this is a great time for women over 40. That's for sure.
Well, what's interesting is I've had a 20-year career in the wellness industry, and so many women have come to me over the years because they want to shed the weight. They want to get stronger. They want to look better in their clothes, right? Those reasons are typically what come to the table.
Right.
But what's fascinating, and what I learned very early on in my career, is it's not really the weight that's the issue. The issue is the marriage that's been falling apart for 15 years, the career that someone has been rumbling with, like changing for the last decade. The difficult relationships with children, the lack of self-confidence. These are things that, and I know there's that quote, I've seen a meme of it that says the weight that you need to lose isn't actually on your body.
Mm.
And I think that in so many ways that's true. Now, please don't hear me saying that I don't think weight loss can be a healthy thing. Of course it can.
Yeah.
And yet we chase it as if weight loss alone is going to give us what we're truly seeking. And that's never the case.
Right.
I never see that that's true, because it's really who we become in the process of pursuing that. And also not realizing that weight loss is kind of an endpoint. It's a goal that we kind of aim for. And health is, I always say, and you'll hear me say this 1,000 times in the summit, health is not a finish line. It's a relationship that needs to be nurtured.
Right.
And a lot of women were so busy nurturing relationships with families and careers and all of that in their 20s and 30s. They arrive in their 40s, 50s, and beyond and start recognizing that, oh, I should probably ask, what I need to.
Right.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
And so this is where the return to health is truly a return to self. Acknowledging that you need care too, and you deserve your own time and attention.
Right.
And it's okay to follow your heart and be who you truly are. And some things are going to fall away in the process of that, and so much is going to be gained.
Yeah. A return to health is a return to self.
It is.
I'm going to tattoo that.
Do it. And that's where, again, self-trust comes in, right? Because you can't return to yourself if you don't trust yourself.
Right.
So this is, again, the whole purpose of the conference, which is
and I want to, I can't even drive this point home enough, that this is not a summit that you register for and then you watch a bunch of videos of women saying like, this is what you should do and this is who you should be. This summit is to elevate you. Like when you listen to these interviews and these conversations that Courtney has, it's to elevate you and to help you make better choices, to live your best life. I hate that phrase, but it's really a positive change in yourself. Not that you're doing it wrong, not that you're not good enough, not that you need to lose weight or do this or you're broke. Like it is a celebration of where you are, a recognition of where. This is one of the things about you, Courtney, that I love. You meet people where they are, and then you bring them along with you. And I think that's so important in this. And I know 100% that this is what this summit is going to be, is you meet people where they are, wherever they are, and then you help them elevate. And I cannot wait. I cannot wait for this.
Well, and what's amazing is I selected the women I selected because of their minds and their education. And because I've been following their work for years.
Right.
And yet, as I've been reviewing the interviews, to sort of come up with my notes and all those things, it's so interesting that in every single interview, it's really these women sharing a very deep part of themselves and things that they have rumbled with, and how their careers and their pursuits professionally helped them to heal. And that's why they're so passionate about sharing this with other women. So the conversations are very intimate. And they're amazing. Julie Angel is another one that, Julie Angel is an incredible filmmaker. She is very involved in the parkour community, which
I've heard her on your podcast before.
Yeah, she's been on the podcast before. But our conversation is so fascinating because she talks about parkour as a culture of effort, as learning how to rumble with challenge. Because we're living in a culture now where things are so comfortable all the time.
Yeah.
And we can't gain confidence if we aren't willing to rumble with hard things. Right. And obviously we're being presented with an amazing opportunity to rumble with hard things right now.
That's for sure.
It is. It's just such a beautiful way of reframing it and recognizing that is how we get stronger. So a lot of times women are hiring us, like, give me the answer, answer my questions, give me the outside protocols that are going to change my life.
Yes.
And I was very clear that the women that I selected for this event,
yes,
they all have a way of turning women back into themselves and getting to know themselves and finding their own answers within themselves. Right. So they ultimately are self-directed and become the leaders of their own life. Confidence is self-leadership. Like, the more self-led you are and the more you trust your decisions, the more confidence you're going to have.
Absolutely.
So the answer is not looking out there and figuring out what worked for somebody else's life. It's what works for yours. And here's some things you might want to consider. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you have to decide what the next right step is.
Right. Absolutely. And the other thing too is like, don't wait for the confidence. So this is one of the things. First of all, if you're waiting for the confidence, I suggest you hit the link that I posted. I will post it again 5 million times and register for this. But secondly, confidence doesn't appear for you to do the thing. You have to move forward and do hard things to gain the confidence. And that's not only are these women experts, like you were saying, and this is my favorite part of the experts that I work with, that I have on the podcast, that like, this is how I feel about you. It's not like I've read all the books and now I'm informing you. They've lived the life. They've lived through the challenges. That's what makes an expert so damn good. And you have carefully curated these women who have been through some things, who are not just showing up because they've read books or taken classes, which is nothing wrong with that. But I'm just saying that life experience along with education, there's nothing better. So I cannot wait.
It's going to be so great. There's a great book that I read earlier this year called The Confidence Code. It's fascinating if anyone's looking for a good read on kind of research behind confidence. But these authors, Katie Kay and Claire Shipman, they define confidence as the ability to put thoughts into action. And I love that because women, we are overthinkers. Now, I know that may sound like an overgeneralization, but if you read the book and saw the research, women are overthinkers. And we actually have more of our brain in the prefrontal cortex of our brain, which is the thinking part of our brain. And so women can think themselves into paralysis, right? We just like think to the point of never taking action. And that is never, that will never result in confidence, because confidence is the result of doing. Wrestling with new things or hard things, and recognizing on the other side that, oh, I can do that, or I am now stronger because of that. And that, I love that. I love their definition of it, is turning thoughts into action, because so many of us can just get stuck in our head for a very long time and never actually be taking meaningful action, which means you're risking failure. That's what meaningful action is.
That's exactly right. Like, if many of us are like, well, if I don't have this exactly like I don't have the blueprint, I don't have the map, I don't have exactly where I want to go, then I can't take that first step. But here's the thing, you could have the perfect blueprint. You take that first step and you're like, this isn't actually the blueprint I want to follow anyway. So you might as well, like, my husband and I have this thing where like, you make a decision and that doesn't work out, you make a new decision.
Totally.
If you get stuck in the paralysis of not being able to make a decision, you're never going to go anywhere. And so that's where the confidence comes from. Like, whoa, we took a chance there with this decision and it worked out.
I often tell my own communities that, I think it's the brilliance of nature that we don't see the whole pathway. Because can you imagine, like, if you knew what parenthood was going to be like, or marriage, or your career, podcasting, I always use as an example. If I had to see everything up front about what it was going to take to be a successful podcaster, no way on God's green earth would I have ever taken the first step.
Yeah.
So I think not seeing the entire pathway is actually a part of the brilliance of nature. Like, you're not supposed to see it. You're supposed to just tap into that self-trust, and based on what you know, ask yourself, what's the next right decision?
Yes.
And then, like you said, if it turns out to be the wrong one, you just reroute yourself. You don't have to make it mean that you're a failure, or that anything is horribly wrong with you, or that that this is final. You learn so much about yourself. I learned in my failures, and I learned by doing things that I really was not skilled at.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. So I am going to post this link like everywhere. I know when I'm posting it, it's going to my business page, but not necessarily to the group. So if you're in the 40 Thrive group watching this, I will post it right there. As soon as we're done with this, it won't let me. I don't know. What's up, StreamYard? But I will get that there. Please use my link to go over to Courtney's. It's free. It's all of the interviews are there for 24 hours. If you want the special gifts, and I'll give you a sneak peek. My special gift for those who sign up for the Backstage Pass is a free coaching call, mini coaching call. So I'm I'm expecting hopefully some people to come in, because I'm thrilled to help people get creatively clear on which direction they want to go,
Yeah. And really, like, the free gifts that people are offering are really impressive. I mean, they're very valuable, and really the whole purpose is to give women just enough that they're inspired,
Mm-hmm.
and also just give them a framework for taking that next step, whatever that next step is in whatever conversation we're having, because there are so many different topics. But all of the speakers did such a phenomenal job at, offering gifts that were so relevant to exactly what they're speaking into. And I want to say too, that this event was mostly curated and almost complete before COVID hit. So there was a moment where I was like, oh, this is terrible timing, right? Like, this is not the time where people want to talk about confidence. And then literally that was like a 2-second thought in my head. And I was like, hang on, this is like the perfect time.
Yes.
Because we don't have a lot of control in most of what is happening out in the world, but we do have control of what's happening in our world.
Yes.
And how we're choosing to perceive things and how we're showing up. And so I really feel so strongly that this event is coming at the perfect time. And giving us an opportunity to just reconsider the things that we do have a lot of control over right now.
This event is representative of, it's a great example of what we can do with our time right now. I talk about this, like, I'm not watching, I check the news in the morning and I check the news in the evening. Not much is going to affect me directly in my house. Like, the news isn't about like what's happening in my neighborhood. So I do want to stay informed, but I think that you can actually like cause more harm to your mental health when you're constantly like surrounding yourself with some of this negativity that's out there. You have an opportunity with this event and with your life right now to decide who you want to be. Many of us have the time, a little bit more freedom. I mean, thankfully, I'm working, but I have more freedom to really decide what it is that I want. What are my next steps? And I think this is a perfect time for everyone collectively to sort of turn inward on like, what are some areas I could really improve my life? Like, how do I want to show up in the world? And this summit is a perfect example of one of the things that we can do to get more in touch with what we need ourselves.
For sure. And some people, I always offer clients, the thought too, that it is what you decide, right? It's yours to decide about. And, because I've heard kind of both ends of the spectrum right now, like, don't do anything, like, don't set any new goals, don't be productive. There's no reason for that. And then the other side of the spectrum is, oh my gosh, this is like, do, like, do all the things you've always wanted to do because now you have time. And what I've always thought is so funny about spectrums is like, usually living at one end or the other is not the healthiest place to be. Yeah. You could choose either one. A lot of people do, but there's also always that sweet center. There's always a middle ground. And I think we often forget that. And so I think that, of course, there's like this trauma happening in the world, to some degree. It is very, it's definitely kind of an assault to our mental health, I think, in many ways. And we have to, kind of honor that and nurture that. And I always say to my clients that when there's more stress, it demands more recovery, right? So there is this element that we need to be softer and gentler and kinder to ourselves. But it doesn't mean that we just have to completely take our hands off the wheel. There's still so much that we can do within that. It's just the energy that we come to the table with and the reasons behind why we're doing what we're doing. So I always say to people that the reason you do anything is really everything. I don't really care what you're eating. I care why you're eating it.
Well, and you've talked about that on the podcast before too, that you were like, if you are exercising to nurture yourself and to take care of yourself and because you love yourself, that's one thing. But if you're exercising to beat yourself up and to overall harm yourself, then that's probably not the right thing to do.
Yeah, like I always use the example, like a lot of women I know, because I've worked with a lot of these women, they're aggressively exercising day after day, not because they're trying to nurture their health, but because they're trying to fit in the box of someone else's expectation. There is a very big difference between those two camps. I've heard it referred to several times as the great pause. And I love that so much because I speak so much about the power of pausing in my work. And to think of this as a great pause to just, because what do you have to do to respond to life rather than react to it? You have to pause. And this is presenting us with an opportunity to pause and consider how we want to move forward.
Courtney, I cannot wait for this. Like I said, I will share the link everywhere. You have some incredible women, some of whom I know and some I don't. And I'm excited to just really enhance my life. And I know that anybody who registers, it will enhance your life as well. So thank you for including me. I'm honored.
Oh, I'm so
a
honored.
bunch of experts and me.
And I have to tell you, like, I feel like a better person just reviewing these interviews and conducting the interviews, because I've now gotten to listen to everything twice.
Yeah.
And I just, every time I'm picking up something new, and there's just such rich conversations. So I'm so honored you're participating. I'm so grateful that you had me here today so we could tell more women about it. And I hope women will participate.
There's nothing to lose. So thank you, Courtney.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening. Let me ask you 2 quick questions. Have you subscribed? It's easy to do and helps you get alerts when a new episode is up in your favorite podcast app. And have you shared it with a friend? That's the simplest way to help grow the show and help more and more women over 40 thrive. I really appreciate you pressing play today. I know you have a lot going on, and it's not lost on me. Until next time, take care and keep thriving.
Thank you.